Black people respond to the threat of immigration by critiquing the system of white supremacy that excludes blacks through the exploitation of other groups. This means that, in the realm of labor, blacks are critiquing the practices that create imperatives for cheap labor, not the laborers. This audiobook is not about labor relations, however. This audiobook is about the ways in which blacks use immigration as a lens to evaluate their status as citizens. Thus, this project is essentially one of placemaking. As blacks are thinking about what immigration means for the nation, they are thinking about what it means for their group. The only way this issue is given context is through their own group's racial experience, which has often found blacks struggling for belonging in the American body politic because of the white supremacy. The goal of this audiobook is to use immigration as a way to understand black people's opinions about race and their place in the American political landscape. It is not to say what black people ought to feel like. Rather, it is a way to understand why black people, when confronted with an issue like immigration, feel ambivalent about it. In order to understand their opinions, it is necessary to think about their relationship to white supremacy, how white supremacy structures the ways in which they receive information about immigration, and how this influences their political attitudes. Throughout this audiobook, my primary consideration is blacks and how they understand their plight, in order to complicate the ways in which we talk about black people and their opinions. More importantly, while this work is ultimately a critique of the ways in which white supremacy structures the nature of intergroup relationships, the foil here is not white people. This is a significant intervention. Whites are not a comparison group. They are not a primary referent. In other words, white supremacy is not equal to white people. White supremacy is the system that favors white people and structures all of our life chances according to skin color, gender expression, sexuality, nationality, religion, and the like. This means all of us can participate in perpetuating the system of white supremacy, regardless of whether that system benefits us individually or whether we participate in or believe in racist practice. It would be facile to say black people would have ill feeling toward immigrants because that is what white people demonstrate. But what my uncle said about how white people do demonstrated a knowledge of white supremacy at work. And that white supremacy is about reinforcing the racial hierarchy that my uncles and so many other black people have been resisting for centuries. By listening to black people, I came to understand that black people respond differently to the same stimulus, i.e., immigration. While this should be taken for granted, it is not. The construction of white supremacy and its fixation on the subordination of black people and others who cannot access whiteness creates different constraints that structure black responses to immigration. Consequently, whites are not only not a comparison group to blacks in this audiobook, they probably should not be in other spheres either. A comparison does not make sense given the disparate experiences these groups have had in the United States. Recognizing and mining this difference is fundamental to my argument in this audiobook. As Allport said, the same fire that melts the butter hardens the egg. In this context, black people respond to the fire of immigration by critiquing the system that valorizes immigrants relative to their group, not the immigrants themselves. Whites, on the other hand, have often hardened their positions on immigration as the threat of these newcomers becomes more salient. This is not to suggest blacks are good and whites are bad. Rather, it is to understand that opinions are not homogeneous. And I contend, if we want to understand black opinion, then we need to theorize about black people in a way that gives priority to black experiences. We can best do this by listening to what black people have to say for themselves. This audiobook is dedicated to exploring the two-ness of black public opinion on immigration. On the one hand, there is a deep commitment in black politics to the right of self-determination. The belief in individual and group autonomy has been part and parcel of black political struggle in the United States. The belief that group well-being is concomitant to individual well-being is long-standing and well documented in the political writings and public opinion of black people. On the other hand, while blacks are generally not in favor of deportation,